Edge of Eternities is a truly wonderful set. Sci-fi and fantasy have always been a much closer pairing than they appear at first glance, and Wizards then skillfully infused the Eternities with knights and their squires, with laser weapons that look like fire magic, and an abundance of fantastical creatures, creating a rich setting that feels both near and far, familiar and strange, invoking a sense of wonder. The set's accompanying story was also outstanding, by far the best Magic story I have read. I loved the different perspectives on common philosophical dilemmas it offered, and the Endstone made for a fascinating MacGuffin with a surprising amount of agency. But primarily, I loved the characters. Sammy being willing to fight so strongly for their cat and not conceding any ground on her right to live was a particularly powerful moment for me. And seeing a character like Tesseret in such an almost joyful mood was also a delight. And do I even need to say anything about the art of the set? It's just gorgeous on both a small and large scale. I keep scrolling through the Stellar Sights bonus sheet, endlessly enamored by how colorful and imaginative everything is. My favorite has to be Meteor Crater, but I also greatly appreciate Shambling Vent. What a funny looking guy. He's around. I just like him. I just think he's cute. I think for me, it all comes down to this again. Edge of Eternities is sincere. It's not riddled with stale references or desperate attempts at jokes, like quite a few of the recent Magic sets have been. It took its ideas and concepts seriously and executed them without feeling the need to water them down with irony. This is Magic at its best. The card designs are also wonderfully evocative, with many new interesting ideas being tested. Warp and Station are both fascinating mechanics that play in really unique ways. But there are two new cards that have me worried. Because oh dear, what have you done, Wizards? Let's start with the one that pretty much everybody has already been talking about. Ice-Till Explorer. Ice-Till Explorer is a green 4-mana 2/4 insect scout with a whole range of incredible abilities. Not only does it let us play an additional land each turn, it also lets us play lands from our graveyard, and it mills us for a card on a landfall trigger. This is an absurd combination of abilities. It's an engine in a box. Well, I guess an engine in an insect, but anyway, multiple land drops per turn are powerful, but they are limited by how many lands we have in hand. The best way to circumvent this limitation is a combination of fetch lands and playing lands out of our graveyard. Play a Cabaretti Courtyard, sacrifice it to grab a land out of our deck, then play it out of the graveyard, sacrifice it to fetch again. And then we just keep doing that. This simple strategy ensures that we always have lands to play, even with an unlimited number of land drops each turn. But while very powerful, up to this point, it has always required a multitude of pieces. We need a fetch land or enough lands in our graveyard, a card that lets us play lands out of our graveyard, and a card that gives us additional land drops. Ice-Till Explorer does all of the above. It's a fully self-contained engine that does everything we need to fully benefit from each of its abilities. The first two lines are obvious, but even the third, the landfall self-mill trigger, is incredibly synergistic, since it can get the engine going even without a fetch land. We can play a land, mill a land, and then play the milled land. I'm honestly baffled they printed all of this on a single card, and I wish they hadn't. This is the kind of card that will win games all by itself, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like a generically useful ramp piece, and as such, it's going to sneak its way into many casual decks, alongside cards like Cultivate or Rampant Growth. But it's so much more powerful than those pieces that it'll push those comfortable incremental decks into a dominant board state all by itself. It's a 4-mana must-kill creature. That's not an inherent issue. There are lots of cards like that, but I just wish it looked a bit more nasty so people realized just how dangerous it actually is. Give it like spooky teeth or angry eyebrows or something. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, give it a thumbs up and check out my Patreon. Thank you very much. Ice Still Explorer also has a sibling that I think is just as powerful, possibly more. Horizon Explorer is a 3-mana green 2/4 insect scout. It makes lands we control enter untapped, and whenever we attack a player, we create a lander token. Lander tokens are artifacts that we can sacrifice for 2 mana to search out a basic land and put it into play tapped. They are rampant growth. And Horizon Explorer can create upwards of 3 of them each turn, so long as we attack all 3 of our opponents. These tokens are already quite powerful, as rampant growth is good. Okay, that feels like a stupid thing to even try to clarify, but Horizon Explorer makes landers even better than that, because it makes our lands enter untapped. Wizards has been feeding us land untapping enjoyers these past few months. Here's a line we can do with this guy. We play a creature on turns 1 or 2, any that can attack will do. Then we play Horizon Explorer and attack with the creature we already had, creating a lander token. Next turn, we play a land and attack 2 separate players with the first creature and Horizon Explorer. This will create 2 more lander tokens. We now have 4 mana and 3 lander tokens. We can sacrifice 2 landers, which will ramp us for 2, and because of Horizon Explorer, these lands will enter untapped, giving us enough mana to crack the 3rd as well, letting us start the next turn with 7 mana. And from here, we can just keep doing that. Every turn, Horizon Explorer will continue to create more lander tokens, which are effectively cost reduced to 1 mana. And the best part is, it does this as a reward for attacking. All we have to do is keep slamming cool green creatures and swing with them. A regular game plan will provide us with all the triggers we need, and the additional mana we create will continue to fuel the activation costs we incur. Even without any additional synergies, Horizon Explorer is a monstrously powerful card. And then we need to start considering that it's also an enabler for our other ramp. All of our tap lands now enter untapped. All of our ramp gets an effective cost reduction. The really big ramp spells like Traverse the Outlands or Boundless Realms can even become fully mana positive. I consider Spelunking to be one of the strongest green cards, and Horizon Explorer is just better. They printed a much more powerful Spelunking. Ice Still Explorer and Horizon Explorer are a truly outrageous pair of cards that also work well alongside each other. Ice Still can now easily recur tap fetch lands, and Horizon grabs lands out of our deck, triggering the self-mill to offer better selection from our graveyard, and of course, opening up the door for other graveyard shenanigans. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed by how Wizards handled lander tokens. I really liked the mechanic. It was a great opportunity to introduce some land-based ramp to the colors that currently need to rely on gimmicky artifact shenanigans to do so. But then they clearly centralized the mechanic around green, which is just a bit pointless. Green doesn't need landers, and the only real way to get green to use them is to print absurd cards like Horizon Explorer. I wish they had rather made more cards like Beamsaw Prospector or Litho Breaking. Cards that give some access to ramp while still maintaining color identity. I suppose I also find Divert Disaster interesting. For 2 mana we can target our own spell, pay 2 mana to resolve that spell, and then pay another 2 to crack the lander. Is this ramp? Maybe? At least we got Dauntless Scrapbot, another Solemn Simulacrum side grade. For 3 colorless mana we get a free one that exiles all of our opponent's graveyards on ETB and creates a lander token. I actually genuinely like this card, and I am delighted to add it to my trash ramp pile. At the current rate, I'll be able to build a Solemn-only commander deck in like 10 years, and I'm very much looking forward to it. The Regalia is probably gonna be the commander. Can you build a Solemn-only commander deck? I actually didn't really look into that, I just wanted to make a joke, but now I'm curious. Well, maybe something to figure out. Getting back to green shenanigans though, I'd like to touch on a card that I think is actually insanely powerful. In my opinion, the strongest commander of the set. Tanuk! No, not that Tanuk. That one is cool and all, but a bit expensive. I'm talking about the uncommon Gruul commander, Tanuk Memorial Ensign. Tanuk Memorial Ensign is a 3-mana 2/4 with a single, simple ability. Whenever land we control enters, Tanuk deals 1 damage to each opponent. If it's the second time this turn, then we also draw a card. Tanuk Memorial Ensign turns all of our fetch lands and ramp spells into simultaneous burn damage and card advantage. I've been brewing with the guy, and I genuinely think he's one of the strongest commanders we've seen in a good while. But I don't want to spend too much talking about him right now, because I'll showcase him in our next deck tag on Sunday. Aside from Tanuk, I think Wizards have shown a wonderful level of restraint on the commanders for this set. There's only a handful of them, and all of them clearly prioritize creating interesting gameplay patterns over raw generic power. Halia, Ascendant Cadet, is a 5-mana Celestia +1/+1 counters commander that provides both repeatable counters and card draw for her deck, but does so in a fair way that I think is exactly right to handle these kinds of casual engine commanders. Then there's Sammy, Wildcat Captain. Sammy, Wildcat Captain, is a 6-mana Boros 4/4 with double strike and vigilance that gives all of our spells affinity for artifacts. That's obviously an insane line of text, and if Sammy had access to blue, I would be worried Wizards lost their minds. But being restricted to Boros makes this a rather curious deck building challenge. While some sort of equipment storm list seems interesting, it's likely stronger to build towards a treasure-generating value pile centered around cards like Pirate's Pillage, Unexpected Windfall, and Inspired Tinkering. Affinity is a bit of a busted mechanic, simply providing a flat mana cost reduction without the need for any additional tapping or discarding or any other costs. This lets it turn even quite mediocre spells into juggernauts, as long as they don't have too many colored pips in their mana costs. Chaining spells into long extended turns should be quite easy in a deck built around Sammy, since red by itself is already a great spellslinger color. White is a bit of an unusual addition though. I think finding the relevant pieces here is going to make for quite an interesting puzzle. This patch seems pretty great, and maybe Leonin Abunas? I don't know how to say that word. Anyway, this cat can find a home here. Finally, Ragos, Deft Gastronaut, has lots of players excited for being a funny lobster chef. I think that's the appeal. I'm honestly not quite sure why so many people like this guy. Is it just because a shrimp fried this rice? If you are a Ragos enjoyer, please inform me why. I don't get it. I'm honestly lost, and this whole section right now is just in here to get people to help me out a bit. I want to understand what's so cool about this shrimp. It's not even a shrimp. It's a lobster. Edge of Eternities is looking like a wonderful set. I'm very excited for it. Honestly, I think this might be the best one since Bloomborough. And the next one that's coming up is gonna be a disaster. I mean, it's just the couple of Spider-Man cards we have seen are... well, we'll talk about it at some point in the future. Anyways, if I look a bit exhausted, then that is because I am. I had to travel for like 8 hours yesterday. I don't want to get into too much detail. I just want to let you know because basically my grandpa had a fall. He's in the hospital. The man is 90. I'll just leave it at that. But it's kind of an issue right now in my family. And as a result, I am gonna try my best to keep up with the schedule. I'm going to try my best to make sure we continue uploading on Thursday and Sundays. But I can't promise anything right now. That's where we are at the moment. So yes. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. We'll definitely appreciate that. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. There you can support me directly. I would really appreciate that. I offer services over there like deck reviews if you would like me to have a look at your deck. But we also do set reviews. Like there's exclusive content over there, like quite a lot of exclusive content. So if you ever wanted me to just kind of like scroll through the list of the cards in the set and talk shit about all of them, well, you can find that over there. Anyways, I'll see you guys. Goodbye.